Previously on Ninjago.
Pixel and Skylar, but they are gonna be somewhat important. So I took some inspiration from the Anaconda cultists. The villain group is gonna be a group that worships time. LEGO hates villain sets and Nia sets. Nia hasn't gotten her own set since 2023. What even was the set that she got in 2023, you may ask? The Evo Dragon. One water vehicle ever. Granted, it was a water strider. She's also never gotten a car, transforming Nia's Wavemobile for $55 with Chrono Nia, Chrono Kai, Skylar, a Subar Samurai, and a Kabuki Thug. Okay, so we're actually going to be switching that Kabuki Thug for another Subar Warrior, because this is my video, I want to, and you can't do anything about that. So this video is about a Nia car, but it isn't just any Nia car, because she barely gets any vehicles, and there are so many that every single other ninja has plenty of. Meanwhile, Nia is relegated to the passenger seat, so let's change that by giving her not just a car, but a car that can transform into other vehicles that she also doesn't have. Well, let me rephrase that. Transform is a term for something that can turn into something else. This is just gonna have parts that can come off because that's just 10 times easier. And let's just do a combo vehicle. And LEGO has done a lot of combo vehicles within the Ninjago theme. It's in fact one of the oldest tropes, dating back to 2012. And that year we got the Ultrasonic Raider, one of the most iconic Ninjago sets to this day. Then there was the Ultra Stealth Raider in 2016, which took the concept and made something new and interesting while still keeping the core functions and giving a whole new version of the transformation function, which is basically just perfect. And then came 2021, and there was this abomination. It had far too and unstable play features while looking absolutely nothing like the original. Then came 2024, and they oversimplified things to the extreme and downsized the set while still making it the second most expensive. Then when they actually made a pretty good one, the Ninja Combat vehicle, they priced it at $100, making it somehow more overpriced than the previous one. This year, 2026, gave us the Land Bounty remake, which was turned into a combo vehicle, and it was actually pretty good, but some people on the internet don't like it for some reason. And the reason I convinced myself to make this a combo vehicle is because Nia has had so few vehicles, this would be an opportunity to get as many in here as possible. The base vehicle, a car, is something that Nia has never gotten. 2 side vehicles that split off. You know how every car has a spoiler, which basically look like wings on the back of a car? Well, let's see if you remember that one time I drove 16 kilometers to get this monstrosity. That's right, baby. This is all planned from the start. Guess what other vehicle Nia has never gotten, or has never gotten a good version of? A jet. Guess what a jet has that a car spoiler also has? Wings. And a cockpit, and in the case of cars, sometimes a windshield. The other vehicle is a battle pack mech, trying to get us as close as possible to every single ninja having one. So let's get right into this. So let's get our Nia and Kai minifigures fully equipped and ready. That didn't pan out as I hoped. Anyways, here they are fully accessorized, and Kai is going to be displayed with his hairpiece in the set. For the first side vehicle, the jet, we're going to have to build a strong foundation. This build is strongly inspired by Jay's mini jet from that $10 core set that came out a while ago. I obviously had to sneak in the obligatory pink piece, and the 2x2 tile with 2 studs allows a character to sit in there and be easily removed. I gave the entire cockpit area this distinct red base. So when the vehicle is fully finished, you can clearly see the pilot inside. You have to have a very souped up engine array to support the vehicle. I'm not quite sure the name of this piece, but I integrated one of them in trans dark blue. And this piece with this water sticker came from the 2019 Hydra Man attack set. I also built up these 2 side pods that are outlined with dark azure and dark blue. This is where color distribution really came in handy, because Nia's color scheme is weird. She uses dark azure, but even though there's a lot of pieces in that color, I don't have a lot of them. Nia's other main color is gunmetal gray, which has even less parts produced. But Nia is the master of water. So she should use a lot of trans light blue. That was the accent color on one of Nia's best sets in the 2017 Ninjago movie Water Strider. The black was kind of swapped for dark blue with accents of trans light blue. I also added in that dark azure. This is a middle plate that is gonna go on top of the main body. And this cavity, you may be wondering what it's for. The other side build, Nia's Battle Pack mech, has a couple of stud shooters, so you have to store the studs, or in this case tiles, somewhere, and a spot for Nia's hairpiece, because the hairpiece is too big to fit in the cockpit. Out of the 4 that do use gold, this is the one that uses it the least. This was at a point where I didn't really have that many gold pieces left to use, so I really had to get very experimental. I already mentioned that I'll be using the Rising Dragon Strike wings, but I did soup them up a little bit with this cannon. Now this is where I really followed the Water Strider blueprint of using red.
Wait a second, I didn't realize I was colorblind.
With dark azure. This 1x2 plate I would swap with a tile, but unfortunately I only have one dark azure 1x2 tile. The other wing ended up having to use this sand blue piece. One of these chrome silver cheese griller tiles, I like to call them, make the wings sit at an angle. And they go into the cavity there, which covers up most of those ugly colors. There are some very specific angles that I'm not finding myself able to hit, where you can see a lot of these ugly colors. There you go. You can see that tiniest bit of lime green, but the pink and brown do seem to be completely covered. That's Nia's jet. Especially on these sub-builds, I try to only use dark azure when absolutely necessary. If that wasn't my exact philosophy designing Nia's Battle Pack mech, even though it's simple and bare bones, it really defined my strategy. Let me walk you through it piece by piece. Our first piece is the foot. I decided to pull the design that was used on Zane's Battle Pack mech because so far it's actually the only one to use it. The most distinctive part is this curved piece, which isn't used in any of the other mech feet. Something else I really like is the rounded plates, which give a pretty cool mechanical design. The color distribution uses a couple of gray parts, a couple of azure parts, some black parts, and the mixable joint. Also, this is the bulkiest foot design that they used, probably because Zane's mech actually had a different leg design, but reintegrating it into another mech helps Zane's not feel so isolated. Our next part is the leg. And man, I could spend so long talking about this tiny 3-piece assembly. I just love how it does so much with so little. You have the ball joint, you have the 1x2 dark red plate, and the 1x1 cheese slope. And it really identifies itself as a piece of a Nia mech. It gets 10 times better when you put it on the foot. And I love it when Ninjago goes silly. Having this gigantic foot on this tiny thin leg is so funny. I think especially when you get a top view of the leg bent down, the proportions are so ridiculous.
Originally, I wanted to put a skirt on the waist.
Just like most of the bigger Titan mechs, it's gonna have just like a piece at the front, but it ended up looking very questionable, so I decided to leave it out. The Battle Pack mechs mostly all use this clamshell design, with the chest piece and the cockpit piece introduced in Nexonites and modified for Marvel. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of this, it's very restrictive. For smaller mechs, they work very well. While I do have both of the pieces in the system, the chest piece does actually exist in Gunmetal Gray. I don't have it, and the black one is at least neutral enough. The old version introduced in Nexonites had ball joints integrated into the piece, while the Marvel version has the ball joints as a separate thing, a pre-integrated raised section. The cockpit piece stayed the same, so I don't know why the clamshell had to change. With all these restrictions put upon me by the will of the universe, it clearly resembles Nia because I put in this water effect piece, adding a head, which no other mini-mech has. Because Nia, for a long time, was obviously Samurai X. So I decided to integrate a little bit of symbolism. On the back, we have these 4 clips. 2 of them are necessary to put it on the back of the car. Remember how I talked about the Samurai X mech? This piece here, the 1x1 stud with bar attachment, is a reference to how the original Samurai X mech used cowcatcher pieces on the shoulders. And even though you really have to know to see the reference, I still think it's a really good homage. What was on the shoulder of that Samurai mech a water cannon. Now we get to some of the other parts on this mech that I could talk about for hours. The hands. They are very reminiscent of the J-mech. The hand is literally the definition of the bare minimum. And here we have the spear. There you go. It does the bare minimum, but it does a lot with so little. It has a lot of articulation, all that you would need from a mech of this size. You can very easily stand it up in one leg in a fighting stance, kneel it down. Trying to get it into action poses accentuates how silly this thing truly is. When building the car, all of the pieces that I had built previously, the jet, the mech, and the spoilers, had to fit within the build. The car would essentially function as a glorified frame. I'm already thinking about specific parts that I have in those colors that are very specific and specialized that I can use. I first had to somehow come up with a frame. I promptly took inspiration from pre-existing Ninjago cars. The Ninja Nightcrawler especially was a huge inspiration. Also, as the 15th anniversary of Ninjago, I did want this set to be a celebration of Ninjago cars. The X1 Ninja Charger, the Legacy version, the first one, it's sad that I have to specify that. One of the big inspirations for the frame of the front, I used these T-pieces that were in the front of that set. They allowed me to keep this stable while also allowing me to integrate these spring-loaded shooter cannons. And I didn't really record a lot of footage while I was making it, but of course I do remember the building process. And one of the things that took me the longest to make were the side panels. I got to use 6 gunmetal gray Star Wars blasters, and on this side at least I got to use a dark azure piece right here. But on the other side, I didn't quite have enough. So one of the first things I did was build a support frame for the fuselage. Technic bricks would end up going over those. And as you can see, I used a lot of snot building on this model. This support panel actually showcases one of the really unique shaping quirks. Honestly, unknowingly, I made the front wider than the back. You'd expect the back to be somewhat bulky, and then it would taper into the front section, which would be slightly thinner. Now we attach this section to the rest of the car. Of course, always remember to use lots of brackets and snot techniques to keep your build strong. These giant gunmetal gray turbines really help accentuate the water theme I was going for, along with these Batman symbols on the side, which do look kind of weird, but once you mesh them with the rest of the armor plating, they don't stand out much as Batman symbols. This is also the area of the model with the highest concentration of gunmetal gray. I also place a little bit of greebling here right beneath where the wheel attaches, which is completely covered up by this giant cannon. I also had to throw in these golden trident pieces somewhere, and I figured this was the perfect spot. You do see a lot of vacant Technic beams here, and I do wish I could have put some accessories here, but ultimately there wasn't really much space underneath the hood, and I figured there was more important stuff to figure out on this thing anyway. Also, these caution stripes I really am a big fan of. And now we attach the hood. I wanted the bumper to look very aggressive on this model, and I think I succeeded very much on that front. And as for the Imperial logos here, you can just imagine them as the symbol on the back of Wu's torso. While the back is incredibly bland, I did pull some inspiration from the OG Thunder Raider and its Legacy version. I also added clips for weapons and this exhaust pipe, an obligatory feature of any vehicle I make. This does fit the cannon, and it's meant to go like this. Nia's swords and spear can therefore be attached not only to the mech, but also to the back of the car. These yellow clips gave me a lot of trouble. I originally had 2 of these open hinge pieces, which would make it very easy to remove, but the mech kept falling off. 2 bar pieces would make it far too strong, and the back of the mech just kept coming off. And even though this arrangement is still not perfect and this bar piece does catch on the clips, it's still a lot better than including 2 of either of these pieces. I built 2 wheel covers that utilize more 2x2 translucent dark blue bricks. I also did something similar from the front. They are attached to this assembly here made using a battle droid arm, which will serve as a harness for the mech. Oh yeah, there's also this sticker right here. Now we're going to use these 4 pieces right here, and they will become the car spoilers. And if we pull it down, you'll see I have a little bit of gold. And once we add these flame pieces to the back of the car, as well as load these spring-loaded shooters, consider the core of the model just about done. I'm going to put the sub-models back on, and I'm going to show you the transformation. The minifigure also doesn't need a pillow and a blanket to sit inside the cockpit. So here is the fully finished Wavemobile. We have these two spring-loaded shooters which can be launched forward. I integrated this black stripe into the design so that these black Technic beams, which absolutely do not exist in Dark Azure as far as I'm aware, end up blending pretty well into the model. So first let's remove the mech. We can open this whole panel up. Fold it all the way back out, and here's the finished mech. Now you can also pull out the weapons and accessories. And now let's pull off the jet, which is a little bit of a more involved process. So first you lift up the hood and flip the bumper out. I just think that looked cool. Now you flip up this little section right here, and then you pop the jet right off, or at least the fuselage. Then the next thing you do is pull out the spoilers. And you attach them to the fuselage. And our submodels are fully finished. Now that the car is ready, we need someone to help the Subaru Warrior counter it. So we're gonna have this Subaru Samurai. We're gonna give him this weapon build. This piece that is meant to represent his modified Borg Watch Model 7. This is a printed compass piece that I got from Ninjago City Gardens, so technically it's not a modified Borg Watch Model 7. Here, I built this giant and very solid base for the Wavemobile. I'm just gonna let the footage speak for itself because there are a lot of little details and I'd be spending a lot of time talking about them. You know, to design this thing, I was kind of inspired by the blacksmith shop, which when I was making this had kind of just come out. I'm honestly really proud of how this turned out. I think I captured that terrain style that the blacksmith shop uses so prominently, especially having all these snap pieces. It's very natural, and I think I especially succeeded in interweaving rock and sand on the front. A claw from a Kabuki Thug, which was originally a minifigure I was going to include in the set, but since I make the rules and you can't do anything about it, I switched it to a different minifigure, and now this is a little Easter egg. Behind this other stick of bamboo that I just removed, a couple of trans red pieces, this sticker, which is an Easter egg, and you can see this giant assembly, which is meant to hold the water essence. I can throw it right here. Speaking of placing, we can now place all the minifigures and the vehicle here. But before that, I do want to show you the last minifigure I created for this set. This is an exclusive Skylar variant. It doesn't look much like her because I don't have any Skylar minifigures, but I'd say it works, and I think it's a pretty unique take on the character. You have this orange visor and a half mask. Then you can place the hair piece, which is the wrong color, but I don't have a pure red one. This torso is from Echo from the Bad Batch with dark red arms, medium nougat hands, Aaron's legs from Dragon's Rising Season 3, and this orange Batman utility belt, which came in the Scoobat suit from the Lego Batman movie Batcave. Her accessories are just silver shurikens, so we can pose her up and throw her on top of this little rock. That's about everything for today, so thanks so much for watching. Please share this video with a friend if you found it good enough to do so, and check out the instructions that I'll probably be posting out on Rebrickable at the end of the year together with all of the other ones for these Ninjago Chrono-Dive models. And this has been Ninjago Chrono-Dive Part 5, focusing on Nia's Wavemobile, a $55 set that comes with 5 minifigures and looks like this. Bye, guys.